Can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm a Air Force veteran. I was in service during the Vietnam War, stationed in Thailand. My hometown is New Albany, Mississippi. When I left New Albany, I went in the military, and when I got out of the military, Memphis is where I decided to stay. So I've been in this neighborhood ever since I got there. Well, I'm retired. I've been retired for some time. I formerly worked for the U.S. Postal Service, and I did own business for a while. So I'm retired now. You know, I remember when I was a child, I believe I can remember some things when I was real young. You know, playing in the hometown where we lived. We had a house on about 3 acres of land, and the land surrounding the house was a wooded area. And we used to play in the woods, and that was something I think after I got older that probably most children should experience. Being near nature, to be able to see all the varmints and insects, you learn a lot when you're a child. When I moved into this neighborhood, the Westwood area, it was mostly, at that time in 1972, I would say it was about 97% a white area, white neighborhood. Over the years, it changed to what it is now. The transition has been very dramatic. Some of the events that we have in the area, like, you know, we do a festival here. We try to do a festival every other year. We're planning one this year, which it will have an impact on the community. Other events that we have are more or less events when we have the local politicians and officials to come in the area and address the concerns of the community. This is probably one of the largest, you know, events that affect the entire community, because we know over a period of time how the community has deteriorated, and we are airing our views and concerns to the leadership in the city. And this is vital for the survival of this area and the city in large. When I was a teenager, in the years when I used to listen to music a lot, I guess probably James Brown. James Brown was a guy that could play music. He had talent. I think people now, even as he's gone, he's passed away, that there's talent he had that these younger people picked up. You look at Michael Jackson. If you could look at James Brown years ago, I remember one of my friends telling me about the time I was in the Air Force, he was in the Navy, and they went to an outing somewhere in, I think around Norfolk, and they had James Brown playing, and he was performing in a barn. And the little stage had, you know, just rough wood and splinters, and James Brown was trying to do his act, and, you know, like the moonwalk Michael Jackson did, James Brown could do this on one foot. And it was comical the way he said, but he said, you know, even though they were in that barn, he put on a show. He always put on a good show, no matter where he performed. You had other groups like The Temptation, Impressions, and the music at that time was more or less, I guess it was sincere. You could understand the words. You had good bands. The beat was different than it is now. But the music, I would say, it didn't really influence, I would say, violence like music. Some of the music influence violence today. I think that's what's wrong with a lot of our people now, because some of the music we listen to, which I would say like the rap, the gangster rap and stuff like that, that particular beat instills something in your mind. See, as a young person, you might not understand. When you're young and you get something instilled in your mind, it'll be there, until the day you die. So the music in our day was quite different, and I'm sure the performers, the people that wrote songs and people that performed the music, they took time. A lot of them didn't have the formal, music training, but they could definitely play. We had some good bands. You didn't have a lot of electronic, made-up music. This was pure talent, and this is something that's really missing. To find the musicians today like you could years ago is, it'd be hard to do. I can't speak very much about that. I would say most of the people in the community are Baptists. Since you mentioned religious beliefs, I look at all the churches we have in the area. We have an enormous amount of churches. I think within our, just in the boundaries of our neighborhood association, we have, I would say approximately 15 churches. I don't know, it's probably an enormous amount in Southwest Memphis because you have churches everywhere. I think churches really play an important part in the community. But we would like to see churches be more involved in the community, because your neighborhood associations and your neighborhood watch groups are really the ones that keep their eyes on the community. We have churches, when you can go to a certain church, you can go to that church and you look around the area. It can be in an awfully depressed area, but you look around the church, it's clean and it's nice. But then you get 2 or 3 houses away from the church and look at a neighborhood. The neighborhood is run down. You've got people hanging out on the street and a lot of illegal activity going on. So if we could get the churches and a lot of the members in the area to kind of buy into the entire neighborhood instead of the area just around the church, it would be a better community for all of us.
Do you consider yourself as a leader?
Believe it or not, for some time I didn't. Lately, I do. Some of my friends, military buddies, and we used to work together, they would always say, look, Rob, you do this, you get this done, because when you get something done, you're doing this, and we get together, we do these things together. I'm more or less a blue collar type fellow. I always like to work outside. I like hot rods. I like working on cars. My background is in electronics, communication. I used to like to work on radios. But when this, I would say when this calling came to me, I really didn't want to do this. I would say, look, I will help and do what I can. But when it got to the point that the president of the neighborhood association, when I joined, got to the point that she was about to give up and the neighborhood association going down, I told her, I said, look, if someone's got to do it, I'll do it. Because I always like a challenge. And that's how I ended up in this position. The strength in this community is, I would say, number one is the neighborhood association. The neighborhood association has been in existence for over 20 years. I joined approximately 8 years ago, and one of the reasons I joined, I could see that the neighborhood was deteriorating, and someone had to do something about it. I went to a few community meetings with the council people, and I learned a lot. They say if you want your neighborhood to be nice, you gotta do something about it. So that's when I joined the neighborhood association. We started working together, and we have, I would say, stopped the deterioration, and we have improved it in the last few years, but we still have a long way to go. That is the strength. Our weaknesses are, we have people moving in now that are not aware of neighborhood living. They've never been trained on living in neighborhoods, how to respect people, how to respect their neighbors. This is a weakness that has been going on for some time. During the transition from public housing to what we have now, this is something that we are trying to change. We're trying to change this weakness and moderate it so it could be part of the strength. I forget exactly what years it was built, but it wasn't here when I moved to the neighborhood. This was a park. The only thing we had was a backstop for softball, and this was just like an open field or park. And when they built the community center, you know, I didn't use it at the time because at that time I was still working. It was a asset to the community. And really when I started noticing that, you know, our community, after the community changed, this community center had, I would say, slipped off on the deep end when criminal activity was beginning to, you know, I would say, come to the community. And when I really started noticing the community center more and doing more, is when they put the co-ed unit in here, which is police. This really, the first co-ed unit, it really turned the community around, because we had during the transitional time, we had a lot of criminal activity. And with the co-ed unit, when they moved in, they announced it on TV, something I probably wouldn't have done myself. But the community changed, like overnight. The people that was committing a lot of the crime and the criminal activity that was going on, the gunshots you would hear periodically, I would say people were selling narcotics. It stopped because the police was in the community and they would work it out of their center. But after a period of time, I think probably a lot of officials said, well, we've got this community fixed and we'll move on. So things start dying down. And the community center began to revert back to all the criminal activity with the gang members hanging out and stuff like that. So the neighborhood association moved in and said, look, we said, we lived in this community. We are paying for this community center. I said, let's start using this community center because it's our tax dollars paying for it. The people that's causing the trouble are not paying, they're not contributing a quarter to paying for this center. So when the neighborhood association came in, we just more or less sent a message. We didn't have to, it wasn't a vocal message, but we just let them know we are coming in. There's a lot of things we're not going to tolerate. We're tired of our community being run down. So after a period of time and a couple of new directors, and the community center began to become a community center again, where you had more than just basketball for kids. Now we have meetings, we have community meetings, we have other activities, but we don't have the activities we should have because of the budget and the money. I tell you what we really are trying to accomplish. Not only the Westwood area, we have combined community groups. We have joint meetings from Coral Lake, Walker Homes, Shelby Heights, Barton Heights, just to name a few. And getting these neighborhood groups together, it really, I would say it's most of Southwest Memphis. Some areas in the Boxtown area near Chuckalissa, we haven't got the leadership in that area, neighborhood leadership we can contact. But what we are trying to do is to get the Southwest Memphis neighborhood groups together and more or less formulate a plan on improving the area. We've talked to officials in the city. What we would like to do is to change the way planning and development look at this area. This area is known as an impoverished area now. At the time when I moved here, it wasn't an impoverished area. It's certain things that can be done on the local level, but it takes our, political leaders and other people that's in positions of power in the city. They can control the way these neighborhoods are. And we're trying to change this, but to bring Southwest Memphis back to where it was, because most of your people you have that's responsible and good, I would say, residents in the area are getting old. And this is something I guess it seems like our last push to kind of preserve what this neighborhood, this area used to be.